Thanks for everyone for joining me today, and thank you for choosing me. I know there's 2 talks on, so it's a hard choice to choose which one to go to. But today I'm going to talk to everyone about problems, and in particular, data problems. And if there's one takeaway that I want everyone to have here today is that the next time they go to put fingers to keyboard on solving a problem is just to make sure that they've actually defined it properly first. Whoop. So there's a lot of problems in life that are pretty well defined, understood, and over time, as humans, we've become pretty good at solving them. The starting point for these problems, they're somewhat certain, and where we actually need to go is known and clear for everyone on the team. How we solve these problems as well is mostly predictable. And everyone that's actually working on the problem mostly knows what it's going to look like at the end. Whoops, sorry everyone. However, data projects is not so much. If anyone here has actually worked on a data project before, at the start we actually possibly don't even know what problem it is that we're trying to solve. The end sight may not actually be really clear. Most people on the team may have a different understanding of the problem as well, and experimentation is, in some cases, always needed. So here's a pretty sobering statistic. So this is a number I think most people, or at least me, has been floating around conferences and boardrooms for the last couple of decades, and it's pretty much that 80% of projects, data projects, will fail. They will actually fail to even make it to production or will make no significant impact at all. And I'm sure everyone here, me included, has contributed to the graveyard of failed analytics projects. So why is that? Like me personally, I'm really interested in finding out why these data projects fail all the time. With AI in front and center now, they're throwing billions and billions of dollars at us data teams, and I feel like this is our last chance to actually get it right. So I'm going to list out a non-exhaustive list on what I think are some of the top reasons data projects fail. Front and center is I think that we're approaching these problems as projects as opposed to products. In some cases, I actually think we're solving the wrong problem. There's lack of alignment with the data teams and the actual business itself. I like to refer to this as outside-out thinking instead of inside thinking. This is a pretty common one, poor data quality. I don't think if I asked anyone in the crowd today, do they have good data quality? No one would raise their hand. And overly complex solutions. So anyone here who reads a FANG blog, they're always coming out with extremely complex architectures, and sometimes I think we just need to approach these problems simpler to start with. And shaky data foundations. I don't know who says data here or data, but I kind of flip between the two. But yeah, too many times have I seen people bolting AI or advanced analytics on top of shaky foundations. I could go on, but today I want to focus on just the first 2, which is approaching problems as a project instead of a product and solving the wrong problem. So before we get started, very similar to what Rimmer said in the previous talk on defining agents, it's very similar to actually defining data products as well. Every time I ask someone what's their definition of data products, it's very different. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. There's quite a sliding meaning to what data products are. But for the purpose of this talk, I'm just going to quickly read this verbatim, and it's that a data product is a reusable data asset that drives business decisions and solves an actual problem. Emphasis on the actual problem. It's built with a product mindset, and it evolves iteratively with customer feedback to meet real business needs. So it's not following the mentality of let's build it in a silo in a data team or an IT team and then let's see who uses it. It's built speaking with the actual business itself. So before I dive into the approach and the mindset, I quickly want to compare project to product, so everyone can have a good comparison between the two. So a project is typically based around a temporary team, and everyone on the team has a build once mentality. The feedback for the product they're building is typically captured at the end, and success is typically measured by its alignment to the business case or the requirements. And everyone on the team typically has a project mentality. Products, on the other hand, they're long-lived teams. They know they're going to evolve and iterate. Their mentality is build, measure, learn. And their mentality is they know they're going to release continuously. Success is typically measured by the satisfaction of the customers as opposed to the alignment to the requirements. And everyone on the team has a product mindset as opposed to project. But I'm not naive. I know that not just data products or just software products in general don't necessarily go in this iterative fashion. In some cases, it might look like this. But that doesn't mean we have to approach every problem like this. There is a way, in my opinion, that teams can start to move slowly towards going from chaos to a bit of sense. And that's what I want to walk through everyone through first. And that's a bit of a blueprint that we can all refer to. Now, quick show, has anyone heard of the double design technique before? Double diamond, sorry. A few hands go up. So this is a bit of a synthesis of that. I can never say that word properly. And I wanted to make note of the word blueprint here as well. So whether it's Agile or Scrum, people out there try follow it step by step. So when I say blueprint, it's not a recipe. If you take one thing from today, I think that's fantastic. But the key thing here is that it's split into two parts. It's the problem space and the solution space. And I'm going to go through each diamond real quick with you now. The problem space is really where you go wide and to understand, what are we actually trying to solve here? I'm guilty of this myself, resist jumping into solutions at this point. I know in some cases, everyone here, it's the business that come to you and say, build this. Really resist yourself to step back and really understand what is the problem we're trying to solve. Not only that, speak to as many people in the business as you can and on that team on what they think the problem is, because you'll be surprised at what different perspective you can actually get when you ask them what they think the problem is. And I'm a firm believer if no one on the team actually understands what the problem is, you're going to have a really hard time getting a shared understanding of what success also looks like once you've actually built it. As we transition out of the discovery phase, this is where we really move into definition. And this is where we actually have to really hard and lock down what is the problem that we actually want to solve and build. And it's completely normal to have lots and lots of problems at this point. But remember back to those graphics of project versus product. We want to actually deliver something in small pieces. So this is where it comes down to, let's prioritize on the highest impact problem and do that first. Now we're moving over now to the solution space. So at this point, everyone on the team should have a pretty fair idea of what the actual problem is. And remember back, I said experimentation is expected in data projects. So don't feel that all these 4 phases need to go in a linear manner. It's expected to be iterative. It's okay to jump back and forward. Because after all, once you learn more about the data, the problem itself may change. That's why we experiment a lot in data, especially when we're dealing with untrustworthy humans. So the first phase of solution is really where we develop the first solution. Now, remember, I keep repeating myself like a broken record here about iteration. So just because we've selected a solution for the first iteration in the solution phase, it doesn't mean that's the right one. So I know AI seems to be front and center. It doesn't mean you jump straight to AI to solve the solution. It is okay to start simple, whether it be Excel, moving on to a dashboard, and then AI. It is fine to try multiple different solutions. But it is a really good opportunity to make sure that the problem statement at that point is well defined. At that point, once you're happy with the actual first iteration of it, remember you're in a product team at this point. You're working with the business. You're getting a really strong understanding of, is this actually what we want to deploy out? You could be deploying this data product internally, externally, but at some point you actually need to deliver this to your customers. And this is the point where we actually start, we have to make this data product resilient. It's test-driven development for testing in data products is only something that us data folks have had in the, last 5 years or so. But when you move to the delivery phase, this is where we've got to make sure our data products are observable, they're tested, they're documented, there's proper support structures in place. If this breaks, who's going to look after it? So all of these mature practices that have been hanging around for software engineering projects for a long time, us data people are kind of catching up. And the deliver phase is really where you make sure that's done. Now, going through this blueprint is all good and true, but if people enter this life cycle or blueprint with the same mentality as a project mindset, I feel you've got a pretty strong sense that you may not get the value out of it as you probably should. So if you are going to sort of trial this or have a look at it when you go back to work the next couple of weeks, is to really think about the mindset that you apply to this life cycle as you're going through it. And there's a lot of mindset shifts. There's a lot of great articles out there on product-minded engineers, how to become more product-focused. For me, it's really down to just software engineers and data engineers understanding the downstream use of how their product or data is being used. But the first one I want to talk through is customer centricity, which is putting the problem and customer above all else. So we're all technical people here. We do love to, sometimes chase the new shiny thing or try out new toys or a new approach. But if you're ever at the crossroads, the customer and the problem needs to be prioritized above all else, and there should be no negotiations or movement on that. The next is incremental value. So how can you slice up this project, this data project, into thin slices, right? I'd love to give examples, but I'm keeping a fine eye on my clock. Come talk to me later. But focus on what is the value. Out of all the problems that were surfaced during discovery, let's focus on the small ones first, prove value, get it in front of the customer, and iterate. And similarly to the previous one, continuous iteration. So everyone here, again, may have built a dashboard or a model. You throw it out into, the business world. It's used. There's value gotten out of it. You check in on it in 6 weeks' time. No one's opened it. So continuous iteration and get that by feedback. So go check in. Sometimes problem solve. That dashboard you built 6 months ago may not be accurate anymore with the new tariffs that have been put in place, as an example. The world changes. So as I close to the end of this talk, there's another takeaway that I want everyone to think of is it's best to solve the right problem the wrong way than the wrong problem the right way. I had to repeat that to myself multiple times to make sure I can say it. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but the takeaway of it is you're better off iterating solving the right problem than actually iterating on a solution on the wrong problem. Now, I do have a bit of time, have some questions, but a bit of a selfish plug. Please, if you're interested in talking data more, I am writing a book on effective data products, so I'd love for you to follow me on LinkedIn and give me some continuous feedback. But I just want to take the opportunity of thanking everyone for listening to me today. And if you want to talk about anything later on, I'd love to. Thank you.